Well, we are at the top of the hour, so I'm going to stop sharing my screen and we'll get back to work here. So, yes, Jennifer, I love sweater weather too. I'm all about I have an actual addiction to hoodies if I'm being completely honest with you. So, I like it when it's hoodie weather season. Okay, so housekeeping things, just a reminder, like I said, that we are offering CPE. So if you want CPE for this particular hour, make sure that you are answering the polling questions for us. And quick question I see there from Jennifer. I'm in Southern Maine. So that's where the New England is coming from. So we have this hour Dan from Stanford Tax. Now I have to tell you guys, if you were at Scaling New Heights or you weren't at Scaling New Heights, it doesn't matter. If you read my article on the top 10 tax tech that came out of Scaling New Heights, Stanford Tax was the fan favorite, hands down. Everybody wanted to talk to Dan. We have been using Stanford Tax since last year. I wish we had implemented it sooner because this is like the organizer of my dreams. It's just been an amazing tech tool that we've implemented for efficiency, for consistency. My team loves it. It's so easy for our clients. So now Dan doesn't even have to do his presentation. I'm just going to tell you that you guys need to implement Stanford Tax between now and the end of the year. I'm kidding. I'm still going to let you demo because I want everybody to see how great it is. So I will let you take it away with that.
Awesome. Thank you for that introduction, Christine. It was great to see you at Scaling New Heights, and thank you for those words. So before I share my screen and dive into the demo, just a few words about what Stanford Tax is, and then you're all going to see it in action. So Stanford Tax is the easiest way to collect tax information from your clients. It's not only the easiest way, but also the most personalized way of doing so. And the way that we do it is we integrate with your tax filing software, and using the prior year data from your tax filing software, we generate personalized organizers for each of your clients. Now, when I say organizers, I'm not talking about a PDF organizer. You'll see in a moment what a Stanford Tax organizer looks like. But we generate organizers for each of your clients, and along with each organizer comes a binder. You internally, the firm, will have a binder for each client, and that is where all of the information from the client will feed into. And we'll see what a binder looks like during this demo as well. Let me share my screen and we'll jump right in. Just give me one moment here. X out of these tabs here. Okay, so the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to delete all of these sample clients here so that we can start from scratch. And the screen that we're looking at here is the screen that you yourself would see if and when you were to create your own free Stanford Tax account. I do want to mention before I start on the demo that everything I show you during this demo, you can do yourself for free. Stanford Tax is self-serve. There's no credit card required to try it out. And so I urge all of you to try it yourself after this demo. And the first thing that you're going to do once you create your account, you'll see a button here for generating binders. You're going to go ahead and generate binders for your clients. And for returning clients, I'm going to select returning clients. You're going to do that directly from your tax filing software. For my demos, I use Lacert, so we'll click Lacert here, but the integration is the same regardless of which tax software you use. The way that it works, you're going to follow the steps for getting the backup file from your tax filing software, and you're going to drag and drop the backup file into Stanford Tax. And I have a backup file ready here that I use for my demo, so I'm going to drag and drop that in. This backup file has about 10 clients, but you can import hundreds, even thousands at once. And Stanford Tax is now generating the binders for each of the clients in the backup. And just like that, we're already done. That was in real time. We didn't speed anything up. It's really that quick to do it. And now in Stanford Tax, we have the list of binders here in front of us. And you'll notice that there's a column here called Client Organizer. As I mentioned, you'll get not only a binder internally for yourself as the firm, but a client organizer for your clients as well. And one of the things that we'll go over during this demo as well is most firms used StanfordTax with their clients by sending them the organizer and then using that as a way to get the information. But we do have some firms that use StanfordTax completely internally, and you'll see as we go over the binder, you'll see how you would get a lot of value from StanfordTax, even if you didn't send anything to your clients at all. And so for the way that the rest of the demo is going to be structured, we're going to start by looking at the client side of things, the client organizer. We'll spend about maybe 12 minutes looking at that, and then we'll shift focus to the binder, which is my favorite part of the demo. The binder comes with a lot of superpowers, as you'll see. I do want to actually click into a binder for just a second, so at least during these 12 minutes when I'm talking about the client side, you at least will have an idea what I'm talking about with this binder. So it's what we're looking at right here. It looks like an Adobe here. You have your bookmark panel. If I zoom in here, you'll notice that there's no documents uploaded, obviously, because we just created the binder, but there are some documents that get automatically generated with your binder, like this checklist, and we'll talk more about that in the second part of the demo. So let's go back out, and we're going to start by looking at the client organizer. I'm going to click preview here. So after you add in the binders and organizers from your tax software, you'll be able to easily preview a client organizer simply by clicking that eyeball icon. And I do quickly just want to talk about how you would go about sending this to clients real quick. So let me come back to the main page here. So every client organizer comes with a shareable link. And so that makes it really easy to get the organizer to your clients because it's just a matter of sending them their shareable link. And you can do that off of StanfordTax, or you could have StanfordTax send those links for you, either one at a time like this, or you can do it in bulk as well. If you would like to send the links off of StanfordTax, we do let you get a CSV of all the links so that you can set up a mail merge or so that you can upload it into some other system. So it's really flexible in terms of how you get that over to your clients.
Dan, I have a quick question for you. Cheryl's asking, does this work with ATX and Drake?
It works with Drake. It doesn't work. We don't have an integration with ATX at the moment. You could still use StanfordTax without a software integration. We'll go over that a little bit during this demo.
Perfect.
Yeah. Oh, and that reminds me, I forgot about the polling question. So let's maybe pause for a moment. I was supposed to ask that when we went through the integration.
Which tax software do you use? Well, everybody is taking a minute to answer the polling question too. We have another question from, I'm hoping I'm pronouncing this correctly, Ranjita. She's asking, are there instructions included about how to generate the files specifically for Tax Act software?
Yeah, so we don't integrate with Tax Act either. Maybe you know what I should do is let me quickly click into the generate binders flow and we'll pause here for a moment. So these are
Yeah,
the
we'll give that a minute.
that we have integrations with: CCH Access, ProSystem, Drake, Lacert, ProSeries, UltraTax, ProConnect. Maybe, okay, let's see. We have
Do
three.
we have quite a bit of others. We have a lot of Drake, Lacert, and a little bit of ProConnect and UltraTax. Can you guys do me a favor too while we're chatting, just so that I can see? If you are in the other tax software bucket and you don't mind sharing, just pop it into the chat, just so that we can kind of see what some of those others are. But Dan, go ahead. I'm so sorry. We'll come back to this screen. So this is where there is an integration.
Yeah. So if you use one of these software, then you'll generate the binders and organizers by dropping in the backup file from your tax software. But let me quickly just show for those who are in the other category. So let's come back here. So those of you who are using another software, the way that you would you could still use it. We have a bunch of firms who use it without the integration, and you would generate the binders a bit differently. Rather than getting a backup file from your tax filing software, you would have one of these three ways to generate the binders. We'll go over the one by one and the magic link, and then we'll go back to taking a look at the client organizer. So with the one by one, you would come here, you would fill this out. So let's say you have a client, Samuel Doe. You would generate the binder for them, and then they would appear here on the main screen. And we'll talk a little bit more about what the differences are if you have the integration versus not. I'll bring that up at different points throughout the demo. I just quickly want to go back and talk about the other way of generating binders if you don't use the integration. We have what's called a client magic link. What's nice about the magic link is you don't have to add the clients into StanfordTax ahead of time. Let me click on this and show you. So you'll have a link for for each of the return types. You'll have one link that you send to all of your clients. It's the same link. So you could put that on your website or put it in an email to everyone. And as the client goes to that link and starts providing their information, they will automatically magically show up in your StanfordTax account. And that's why we call it a magic link. It's a really seamless way to use StanfordTax. The one downside of the magic link is you cannot personalize in advance of sending it to them. And we'll see when you add them one by one, like with Samuel Doe, the way that we added Samuel, we would be able to personalize Samuel's experience before sending him his organizer. And we'll touch upon that later on in the demo. For now, I want to go back to John and Julie's organizer here and talk about this organizer. And if you have any follow-up questions, just type it in and we'll go over that during this demo.
I do just want to say really quickly, like we used the magic links for brand new clients that were coming on during tax season and where we didn't necessarily have time to input their prior year return and get them a customized organizer. And I literally heard no complaints from those clients around using the magic link. So they did have to fill out a little bit more information that we might have otherwise already had. But the organizer is so beautiful and easy to use. It still was just like a really nice way for them to just have an organized checklist to send us everything that we were asking for. So those magic links are really, really great.
Yeah, and the questionnaire skips over, it adapts based on how a client answers questions, and will skip
Yes.
relevant questions. So even if you're using the magic link, the questionnaire will still skip over questions that are not relevant based on how a client answers questions. And so it
Which
really
is a huge deal for the clients. And that's really one of the things that we absolutely loved is because we could never get clients to finish answering organizers before because it didn't do that. And they were totally overwhelmed trying to determine what was and wasn't applicable to them.
exactly. Yeah. So this is what an organizer looks like. It has a document request list to start. And then if I scroll down, you'll notice that there's also a questionnaire, and we'll take a look at both. We're going to start by looking at the document request list. And if you do leverage the integration, you'll notice that the document request list comes with the specific items that were relevant for the client last year. And that comes automatically just by dropping in the backup file. For those of you who don't have the integration, you could go into the binder and add items to a client's checklist if you'd like. Like, for example, let's pretend this client told us that they went to Las Vegas, won the jackpot at the Bellagio. So we'll add a W-2G for this client to their checklist in the binder. And by the way, this binder is internal. I just want to make sure it's clear. The client's never going to see this binder. This is for you. It's what you work with. And if I add items to this list here, and now like with this W-2G, if I go to the client side of things, so now check that out, that W-2G shows up in the document request list. And so you're able to add items to check to this document request list even without the integration. But let's see how this document request list works. So the client can easily upload items to the document request list by clicking the upload buttons, and I'll upload the W-2 here. And the client can also just dump all their documents here if they'd like. StanfordTax will know what those documents are. In fact, a client can even upload the wrong thing to the wrong item. Like for example, if I click K1 and I upload the 1099 INT from Bank of America, you'll see that in just a few seconds, it'll correct and it'll choose this one instead. While it's processing, I'll mention that one of our philosophies at StanfordTax is to never trust the client, because
It's a good philosophy.
client is
Look at that. Look at that magically move.
yeah. So we process every piece of information the client gives to make sure that it goes into the right place, because we know the client is just going to do whatever it is that they feel like doing. Now, this is the client side of things. Where do these documents show up for you? So I quickly want to go to the binder for just a moment, just to show you. So so you'll see here the checklist items that the client uploaded were automatically marked completed, right? And the documents that the client uploaded are now showing up in the bookmark panel. It no longer says documents uploaded. You have these two documents here, and you can click on them, and we'll talk more about this binder later, but I just wanted to at least show you how you would get the information on your side. So now let's scroll down and let's talk a little bit about the questionnaire. So the questionnaire is also going to be personalized if you leverage the integration, and you'll have these items show up here, the items that were relevant for the client last year. And the questionnaire is going to cover everything here and anything new which might have come up. So let me click enter questionnaire, and we'll take a quick look at what the questionnaire experience looks like. The questionnaire has three sections: basic info, income, deductions and credits. The basic info section will be filled in from the tax software. If something changed, the client can update the information. Let's imagine this particular client decided to become a commercial pilot and change that. They can let you know. All of the information that goes into this questionnaire automatically feeds into the binder. So if we go back to the binder here for a moment, where does commercial pilot show up here in the binder? Well, that's what this second document in the binder is for. This is your PDF organizer, not to be confused with the client's organizer. The clients are never going to see this PDF, but all of their information from the questionnaire is going to come into this fillable PDF organizer. And if I zoom in to the occupation, you'll see it says commercial pilot here, and the field is highlighted in yellow. StanfordTax knows what changed compared to the prior year and will highlight that in yellow to make it easy for you to notice the changes.
One of my favorite features. We have a couple of quick questions that are relevant to some of the things that you just said, Dan. So, question from Carol: can the binders be moved into our internal programs? In other words, like, can she move when she moves it into her internal file sharing system? Is she going to lose anything?
Great question. So the answer is absolutely yes. You can export the binder, and we go over this later on. But just quickly, when you click export, you can either export the PDF, combined PDF, bookmark PDF version, or you can download the source documents as a zip file. So it's your choice, and you can easily move that to whatever DMS system you use.
And then another follow-up question, can I think this is what they're asking, can clients only upload PDFs, or are there other versions of documents that they can upload when they're sending in their documents to the binder?
Great question. So a client can upload any type of document, any PNG, JPG.
And
Um,
we got them all this tax season.
yeah, and what StanfordTax will do. So let's take a quick look at that. Actually, I'm gonna take this opportunity to dump a document into this other documents category. Okay, so let's come here, and I happen to have this blah blah.png over here.
Which is basically what happens when they take pictures of things and send it from their phone, which, they never do.
Yeah, so that we just drop that in. And if we go to the binder, you'll notice that it's processing, right? And Stanford Tax is going to rename that document, categorize that document, and it's going to figure out which item in the checklist that item corresponds to. Let's just give it a few seconds.
Music to my ears. I do have to say while we're waiting for this to process that like this particular feature was a huge game changer in the way like versus what we were using prior that wouldn't rename or recategorize or reorganize anything. So we would have to have our staff go in manually, open all of the blah blah PNGs that the clients would upload, or you get something that's like named after a scanner dot PDF and rename them, reorganize them, and I don't have to do that anymore.
Yeah, it saves a bunch of time. And if you look here at that blah blah.png that we uploaded, it now has a nice name. There is a warning icon though. Let's zoom in and see what's going on here. Tax year mismatch, expected 2024, but got 2023. So that's another thing that Stanford Tax now does is we warn you when documents they seem out of place. If let's click into this document for a second and see why. So you'll notice that this is a 2023 1099-R. The binders for the 2024 tax year. And so the binder is going to warn you that something looks out of place so that you can review that. Um,
Awesome. We have one quick follow-up question too, which I know the answer to, but I'm excited. And I know you're going to get to this because I can't wait to see the binders too. But Carol, follow-up question. She said, once it's downloaded, can I annotate it and do normal PDF activities? Will the yellow highlight that showed me what changed still stay there?
Yes, yes, yes to everything. And so I'll cover all of that. Let's do the following. Let me just quickly finish my what I want to mention about the questionnaire. I'll do it in like 2 minutes because so that we can cover everything. And then we'll answer all of those questions. And I'll show you some other magic that the binder can do, like splitting up bundled documents, the annotations that you mentioned, a whole bunch of cool things. So we'll get back to that. Let me just quickly come here. We'll go back into the questionnaire and just the few key things I want to mention about the questionnaire. So first of all, with the integration, it will be pre-populated here from the tax software. The question will ask about things that commonly changed. For example, if they move to a new address, it'll ask them about that, and the client will be able to tell you. It'll ask follow-up questions. When did you move? Marital status will be pre-populated, the spouse. Dependents will be pre-populated. Obviously, if they had a newborn, they can now say, okay, it's 3 this year. The first dependent would be pre-populated. The second dependent would be pre-populated. What about that newborn? Well, your client would have to tell you about the newborn. So we'll do that. And now we're done with the basic info section. We're at the income section. And a couple more things to mention about the questionnaire, and then we'll shift back over to the binder. So you'll notice there's a post-it note here. Stanford Tax generates these notes based on the prior year. And in this case, it says, John and Julie, we suggested some categories for you. You'll notice some of the categories here are suggested. And we'll see a couple more examples of the notes, but the notes are really nice because they give the client a really personalized feeling as they go through this. Really makes the client feel as if though you took the time to set this up especially for them. And more importantly, it makes sure that they don't forget to give you the information that you expect to get from them. So it'll have things like prior year numbers, prior year documents, and we'll just really make sure that no stones are left unturned. In this case, you could see all the different categories that are suggested for the client. And as I scroll down, you'll see how comprehensive the questionnaire is. But as I mentioned earlier, because the questionnaire skips over irrelevant categories, most clients see a very small fraction of the questions. And for this demo, I'm just going to choose one category. We'll look at a couple more questions, and then we'll get out of the questionnaire. So I'll choose rental properties, and this is going to be pre-populated from the tax software. The property address is pre-populated. The type of property is pre-populated. P&L. So we ask about a P&L for Schedule C, E, and F because we don't want the client to do extra work, right? If they gave you if they recorded their information in some document, or if they use QuickBooks or anything like that, then we'll ask them to provide the information that way, and they're not going to have to type it all in over again. But in this case, I'll say no P&L, so it is going to ask about the income. And here's another example of the post-it note. You'll see it says last year you received $23,000 in rental income, and I'll say $28,000 here. And the client can add notes of their own. They could say something like, this includes $2,000 in security deposits. And all of this shows up in your binder, of course. And what I'm going to do next is I'm going to get out of this questionnaire. You get the point, I think, of the questionnaire. I'll get out of here. And what we're going to do is we're going to pretend like we did it all, and we're going to click submit. And it's actually, this is probably very similar to real life scenarios where the client thinks they did everything, but they really didn't. So I'm going to
So
click
true.
submit, and we're going to click submit in the confirmation pop-up here. And the questionnaire is not letting us submit it. So another nice thing about StanfordTax is that StanfordTax knows what's still missing. And in this case, the client, me in this case, we're still missing a whole bunch of stuff. So StanfordTax is not letting me submit it. I have to give a reason for each item in order to submit it. And firms really like this because it eliminates that back and forth trying to figure out why things are missing. And for the client, it's really easy to give a reason because they're just choosing an option from the dropdown. And the dropdown options are related to whatever that item is. So for example, with this W-2, they could say I left the job, or I'm waiting for a corrected W-2. Or with the W-2G, they could say I didn't gamble this year, which contradicts their jackpots.
Their previous statement.
I close this I close this account, or I'm just gonna choose random reasons here. Let's just choose random things here. Childcare, no longer in childcare. Now we'll click submit. The client will get this little thank you note. You can come back at any time to upload additional documents. We'll be in touch soon. On your end, let's go out to the main screen here for a moment. On your end, the organizer status will change to submitted. And the main page will give you some overview, the checklist progress, the number of documents, the last activity. But let's click into the binder. And now we could finally spend time on this binder. So what do we want to know about this binder? So first, we already talked about the fact that the checklist items get automatically marked completed. For the items that are not completed, the reasons that the client gave us show up right here in the checklist. So it's just very organized, and at a glance, you'll be able to know why things are missing. Some of the reasons will indicate that the client just won't give them to you, and that's fine, right? So for example, with this 1099-R, they say I didn't take distributions this year, and StanfordTax will cross out that item and will update the denominator of the checklist, so that you can easily know what you no longer should be expecting and what you should still be expecting. Now I wanna go over a scenario that will happen for all of you and talk about how StanfordTax handles it. So clients are going to give you documents outside of StanfordTax. They're going to give you documents in all sorts of ways that you couldn't have predicted. They're going to come by your office, drop them off. They're going to email them to you. And the nice thing about StanfordTax is that it actually does not matter how the clients give you their documents, because with StanfordTax, regardless of how documents come in, you can easily just toss them into the binder and the binder will do its magic. And so let me show you what I'm talking about. So for example, here, I'm going to take this document and these, let's say these two documents. Yeah, I think maybe this document. Well, actually, that 1099 INT we already uploaded. So these three documents. Okay. So let's pretend the client emailed this to us. All you have to do is drag and drop them into the binder. If you look at the bookmark panel here, you'll see these documents are processing. StanfordTax will do its magic. We'll rename the documents. We'll bookmark the documents, and the items in the checklist will get marked completed.
So I think this might answer Barbara's question. She asked if there was a mobile app for clients to take pictures of documents, but they don't need it. So Barbara, let me know if this that Dan just showed answered your question. But also if you're worried about them sending pictures securely, or sending documents securely, obviously if they're uploading directly here, it's secure. But we also had this exact scenario that Dan just showed happen quite a bit last year because we do have a mobile app for our regular client portal, and a lot of our clients would just send documents via the portal. So when our team was ready to work on the return, it was as easy as them dragging and dropping all of the documents that the client had uploaded to the portal right into the organizer the way that Dan just showed. So if that is, let me know if that answers your question.
Yeah, and I'll add to that. If a client clicks their organizer link on a mobile device, they'll be taken to a mobile-friendly organizer questionnaire, and the document uploads. When they click upload, it'll actually ask them if they want to take a picture with their phone, or if they want to upload or select a photo from their phone photo library. So it's going to
Nice.
be optimized for mobile. Yeah. Um, okay, so the next thing that I want to cover, and Christina, until what time do I have for the guide?
Um, if we can go for about like 8 more minutes and then we'll open it up for questions.
Perfect. Okay, so I'll talk about the annotations quickly, and then I'll also show you how you would handle bundled documents, which I know also probably a lot of you have to deal with at your firm, and then we can open it up for Q&A. So with the annotations, so the annotations are a relatively new functionality in the binder. Last tax season, we didn't have these annotations, and so the way firms used Stanford Tax is they would collect the documents in this binder, and then they would export the binder. Most firms would export it as a PDF work paper. They would open it up in Adobe and continue the prep off of Stanford Tax. Fast forward to today, and we now have in Adobe tax specific, more similar to a tic-tac calculate or
Hmm.
PD flyer, if you're familiar with those. We have that within Stanford Tax, and our dev team spent a year building this from scratch because we wanted we, we didn't want to just take something off the shelf. We wanted to build annotation functionality that is very specific to your tax prep workflow. So you're now going to be able to add your tick marks directly in Stanford Tax and in different colors. You're going to be able to add your stamps, tax specific stamps within the binder. You're going to be able to add your references, your links. Like for example, if you want to link this thing here to, let's say, this thing here. Now, if we click on this reference, you have these arrows, and they will take you between the different items on the page. Boxes, obviously. Calculator, if you're on a P&L and you want to add up office expenses, maybe $500 worth of pens and $400 worth of pencils, and we'll call this office expenses. And now we have a calculator tape that we can move around. We also have comments. If a preparer wants to make notes for their reviewer, they could do that as well. The annotation that firms like the most and are most excited about is actually the sign-offs. And
Yeah.
let me actually add my name here in settings, because what that gives us is it puts the initials for us. So let me come back here and now. So when I click these buttons here, not only do the annotation stamp, the sign-off stamps show up on the document, but if you look at the bookmark panel, these two dots will reflect the status of the document in terms of the sign-offs. If I add another level, for example, now the purple dot will show up. And the nice thing about that is that now you can go into any binder, and from a bird's eye view, you'll be able to know what's been prepared, what's been reviewed. So that's really nice. Now, one of the questions I was asked before is about exporting the binder if anything gets lost. So check this out. If I go ahead and export this binder as a PDF work paper. And let me do that for a moment.
I have a couple of quick follow questions while we're waiting for this too. Carol's asking, can we customize the questionnaire? And I think the answer, Carol, you're asking about reviewed too. So there are some firms that will do a duplicate level of review. We're actually one of them, where typically one of my managers will do a first review and then my second review would be that third color. But can you talk really quickly, Dan, about can we customize the questionnaire?
Sure. So this coming tax season, you're going to be able to add custom questions. They're going to be limited to yes, no questions, but you're going to be able to add your own custom yes, no questions. For any questions that you'd like to add that are tax specific that would help everyone else, our team is very like typically we go ahead and just add those questions in for everyone. And so if you have any questions that are not in there that you'd like to add that are not yes, no questions, send an email to support@stanfordtax.com. Chances are we'll be able to add that
I
for
do
you.
have to say that you guys have the best customer service when it comes to getting back to us. When we implemented this, either, we had the ability to ask, like, what's the best practice on how to achieve XYZ? And you guys always answered us, or, we're trying to capture this. How do we do that? So I do really want to give you a thumbs up for your response time and for working with us to make sure that we were getting everything that we need with that. That is a huge, huge differentiator from a lot of the other experiences that we have with our softwares.
Thank you, Christine. Um, so okay, so back to this, or back to this. So we're in Adobe right now, right? We've exported the PDF workpaper from Adobe, and notice that you still have the bookmarks here, right? You didn't lose the bookmarks. You didn't lose the yellow highlighting. You were asking about that, right? It's still here. It's actually a native fillable PDF. But the one thing that's really cool, let's go down to that W-2 that we annotated. So these annotations are cross-platform. What that means is not only do the annotations not get lost, but you actually can continue working on those annotations when you export the binder off of Stanford Tax. Not that we expect you to be annotating the document in multiple places, but the point is that you don't lose anything when you export it off of Stanford Tax. And let me know if you have any follow-up questions on that. And then the last thing before we open it up to Q&A, I do want to show the bundled document experience. It's something that we added late in the tax season last year, so I'm not sure, Christine, if I'm curious if you've had a chance to even see it. Maybe that'll be new to you as well. So we'll go over that. So let me delete these. I'm going to delete these documents because I'm going to upload a bundle document with all of these documents in one PDF. And then we'll see how Stanford Tax handles that. So let me come here and here's the bundle document. We'll drag it in. This will take about 12 or 15 seconds to process. Let's just,
So while we're waiting for that follow up on the annotating, does that go both ways? Like, once we've downloaded the PDF, if we keep annotating in the PDF, will it make the changes back to Stanford Tax?
when you export it and open it up in Adobe, whatever changes you make there will not automatically show up in your Stanford Tax account. No.
Yeah,
So
I will say that that was our best practice last year, that, like, basically we did our annotating. I love this though, by the way, like, to do most of it in Stanford Tax and then export it. But once we exported, that was sort of our final work paper for our internal files, which I know you said a lot of firms are now using this just internally for that reason.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, and firms love that they can just take documents and regardless of who collects them in the firm or how they get
Yes.
them, they have a central location where they dump it in, and then Stanford Tax presents it in this nice organized way. So yeah, there are some firms they don't want to change how they collect the documents from their clients, but they want some organization internally, and they use Stanford Tax for that.
This just does an amazing job. I know you and I just talked about this the other day because I hadn't actually thought about using it from that perspective. we're definitely using it for a document collection solution, but it is the most gorgeous systematic way. Like if you want to have systematic work papers in your practice so that every time, like as a reviewer or preparer, everything looks the same, like this is just such a great, efficient way to do it.
Yeah, and wait till you see how Stanford Tax handles bundled documents. So
I'm
you'll
excited.
you'll notice that it labeled it as a bundled document. And now when we go to this document, there's going to be this yellow banner at the top that says we detected multiple documents bundled into one and have predicted the splits for you. You can modify the splits by clicking between the pages. So as we scroll down, we'll be able to see where Stanford Tax thinks the splits should be based on these white lines. And you can modify the splits. You can just hover above and click remove split if you think if you'd like to do it differently, but Stanford Tax will be correct in most cases in terms of where the splits should be. And once you're ready, once you review the splits and you're ready to split it, you'll click split document here. And you'll notice here, before we confirm the splits, we'll have the overview here of what pages are what. And you can even click these arrows to see, what the different documents are. And then once you're ready to split it, you'll click split document and look at the bookmark panel. So those split documents are going to show up here and they're going to be processing. And let me go to the checklist actually as those documents are processing, because I always love when that checklist automatically gets marked completed. And we're going to see what we saw earlier where the documents get renamed and bookmarked, and that's what we're seeing happening
Look
here.
at that. It's just doing it while I'm going to get my next cup of coffee.
Yeah, exactly. And I this is really the main functionality I wanted to showcase. There's obviously other features. We didn't even get to talk about the request
I
doc.
know we never have enough time to go through all of the cool things that stay right there for 1 second because I have a question that maybe this will answer. We never get enough time to go through all the cool things that Stanford Tax does. So Melissa asked, she said that she usually sends out pre-made appointments to all of her clients. So she sends letters to all of them with a pre-made appointment date. She's asking, is there a way to replace her having to send the letter? Like, is there a way that she can communicate when she sends the organizer to also let her clients know what their pre-made appointment date is?
Yeah, so there's a couple of ways to approach it. So you and I guess every client gets their own appointment time, obviously. So you're sending each client their own appointment. I see. Because if you're going to have a different time for each client, then I think I'm curious how you do it currently. Are you manually sending out those emails and putting in typing in the
She
times manually?
she says the appointments are in Lacert currently.
Got it.
Would there
So
be a way that we would be able to like link like a Calendly link in our communication from Stanford Tax?
yeah, so you would be able to. So if you send the organizers in bulk from Stanford Tax, there's a template here, and the template could include a link. And if you include a link, it'll be clickable on the receiving side. So if, for example, I could show you what I mean. If here I was to just type in like www.google.com
Mm-hmm.
to demonstrate, and then I click send, and then I come into John Doe's inbox to get the email. This is just wait a moment here. Well, the point is, I'm not sure why there's a delay in the email getting sent. It usually happens right away. But the point is that the link that we typed in, google.com, would be clickable. Here,
Nice. There we go.
you see
Nice.
how google.com is clickable here. So you'd be able to.
So we've gotten a couple of different questions around, well, first of all, I've gotten comments that say wow and amazing with exclamation points, which is I think what I said to you last year when you demoed it for me. So this next question, we had a couple people ask about price. I told you that it didn't matter because no matter what the cost was, it was less than what my team was spending on the time to do all of these things manually. But thank you. Your pricing's so transparent. I appreciate it.
Yeah, so we let you try it for free with 5 returns, no credit card required. So that's the first thing that I want to emphasize because really we encourage everyone after this demo to go and try it out yourselves and take a look at your own clients in Stanford Tax, play around with it. It'll give you a feel for the software. And by the way, there's a bit of a loophole here because even though it says 5 returns for free, you can actually try it out with many more returns for free because a return only counts towards pricing if a document is uploaded for that return, right? So if you have hundreds of clients in your tax software, thousands, you could literally import all of them and it's not even going to ask for a credit card. If you do decide that you want to use Stanford Tax, the pricing is per return. It's $18 per return. We currently have a promotion for all credits purchased up until October 15th. The credits are 25% off, so the price is going to be effectively $13.50. Credits never expire. There's no implementation fees. There's no user-based fees, and there's no minimums either. You can buy some credits now, buy more credits later. We keep our pricing very simple.
Um, Follow up to that. Do you pay when you send or only if the client uploads?
Only at an upload. Only when the
So
document.
yeah, so you just said like we could go in and import all of our prior year returns to kind of see what the software is going to do with those. And only at the point that we need to upload like a client's W-2 would we be asked to provide a credit card and purchase a credit.
That's correct.
Awesome. Thank you so much. This is a good follow-up question. Is it possible to export the information directly into tax software after it's been collected in Stanford Tax?
We're working on that. That's the next.
Okay. I knew that was the answer, which I'm excited for. Although I have to tell you, I was so impressed at the time savings on this last year. And not only that, but our team was so happy with it. I tend to be a little bit of a technology collector. So normally when I tell them that we're implementing something new, they're like rolling their eyes at me, like not a new thing that she picked up. They loved this, like loved this, loved this. Our clients loved it. I didn't have a single complaint from any of our clients about filling out their organizers, nothing. Barbara is asking, where do we go for more training on Stanford Tax?
Got it. So we on our homepage, you can register for one of our live demos. In our live demos, we dig a bit deeper. Also, we're coming out with a Stanford Tax course actually later this month. It's going to be a compilation of videos, short 1 to 5 minute videos that go over really everything you need to know about Stanford Tax. So, and it's going to be maybe about 25 videos, but it's going to be only about an hour to get through everything. So
I do have to say, like, this is the most easy implementation we've ever done. Like, with the magic links, especially, like, I didn't have to upload new apps or softwares. Like, our clients didn't have to remember a password or anything like that. It was literally just plug and play on the day that we started using it. Let's see. We provide a question from James. We provided a bookmark PDF document with their source documents, so we're not asked to provide copies of W-2s in later periods. I'm not sure that is that a question, James? You'll have to clarify that a little bit for me. So we have about 60 seconds left. If you guys have any last minute questions for Dan, Dan, what's the best next step if somebody is interested in Stanford Tax? Is it to go use the opportunity to play around with it for free?
yeah. So the next step would be to go to stanfordtax.com. There's a button that says try for free. And literally 30 seconds you'll be in and you'll be able to create to import the clients in from your tax software. For those of you without the integration, you'll be able to go through the flow without the integration and play around with that and test it out yourself.
Awesome. And two more really quick things. Carol, yes, I saw your question. You were clarifying up above that you only pay when a client uploads a document, or if you were to upload a document, like if you were to go in and upload their W 2. And then James is asking, is it possible to send, I think, the clients a non-tick marked PDF? So would you be able to download like a PDF of their full organizer without the tick marks to send back to the clients?
Yeah, so two quick points on that. If you download the zip file with the source documents, then those come without without the annotations. If you
Great.
want to send them the PDF without the annotations, what you would do is you would download it, open it up in Adobe, and in Adobe, there's a way to save a version without the annotations. That's how you'd go about that.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Dan, thank you so much for your time. I always love having you because first of all, I learned some new stuff today, but this has just truly been such a game changer for our small practice in terms of time and efficiency. And I can't say enough good things about it. So thank you for being here.
Thank you, Christine. I'm very happy that I was able to be here. It's always great seeing you, and thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Okay, so thank you guys all for hanging in with us. I know that it was a long afternoon full of lots and lots of information, but hopefully you got some great benefits out of it. And we will see you on our next event. Have a great afternoon.
Are you an accounting or tax professional who wants to stay ahead without spending a dime? Join thousands who trust insightful accountant and tax practice news to keep them informed and empowered. Get expert updates on QuickBooks, Xero, tax planning strategies, and workflow tips delivered straight to your inbox. Whether you're a solo bookkeeper, firm leader, or tax advisor, these newsletters are your shortcut to what's next in the profession. They're free, practical, and built for people like you. Visit insightfulaccountant.com and hit subscribe to start your smarter workflow today for free.